Welcome back to another Agency Connect one-on-one. I'm Senior Shah, President of the Cloud Software Association and CEO of AppBind. We're here to talk about how to bring the digital under control so your agency is under control. I have Julie Ewald of Impressa Solutions, who is secretly in Milwaukee and not in Vegas. And she is an amazing HubSpot and Sprout Social partner and an inbound marketing agency and knows a lot about how to bring order to the chaos for a customer's marketing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us more about Impreza and what you guys do and who your clients are.
Sure. Yeah. So, Impressa Solutions, we are an inbound marketing and sales enablement agency that specializes in working with B2B folks in tech, lots of software and SaaS folks, and also consultancies. So, that's often a lot of other marketers or marketing adjacent folks, and other consultants who work with a lot of folks in IT and managed services and cybersecurity and all that kind of good stuff.
Nothing like doing inbound marketing for cybersecurity. That's my favorite keywords. Oh my God, it's so technical. So the issue at hand that we're trying to get to is, let's face it, like we're all digital plumbers. Like the clients, they have a leaky funnel and they want you to fix their leaky funnel, right? But an actual plumber would never make you, go and deal with all your pipes vendors, like pipes, sump pumps, check valves, whatever. That's your job as a digital agency. But you're selling time for money, and that can also be risky. So the question is, how do you bring that digital under control for the client and then for yourselves? And all these software companies, as lovely and cloying as they are, can be a handful as well. So how do we manage them? So tell me a little bit more about, from the client's point of view, when they come to you, what is like their anxiety? Why are they freaking out and hiring you? What do they need?
So a lot of times we're working with folks because they're, almost exclusively folks that are using HubSpot. And usually the couple of things have happened. But one, they've been using HubSpot forever. The platform has evolved over time. And what they originally have set up completely just does not make sense anymore for the feature set and what they're trying to accomplish. Or they've set up HubSpot, they kind of DIY'd it, but it's not actually set up in any way, shape, or form to be relevant to their actual use case and what the heck their business actually does. And it's just a hot mess. They're not able to get clarity around reporting. They're not able to keep track of their campaigns. They're not really, they know they're not doing stuff right. They might not be able to put their finger on it. And they want to get that sorted. Those are kind of two of the big problems. Or they realize that it's time for them to make a change and they want to get started using HubSpot. And they have the clarity of mind to say, you know what, let's take a time out and let's do this the right way from day one. And we're working with them to get that set up and then continue to support them.
And then, so you're also a Sprout Social partner for I guess social media. Like, what is the stack that you usually are managing?
Really, it's very heavily in HubSpot. So while Sprout Social was something that we had leaned into heavily, a lot of like to be very frank, we've kind of moved to more holistic projects that aren't just very social heavy. So we
Hmm.
don't really got much going on there. So that's something that we've kind of put to the wayside a bit. So really, our focus is heavily with HubSpot, and then kind of looking at some complementary technologies. So we also are big fans of DataBox. We like to
Oh
implement
yeah.
DataBox as another layer of reporting for most of the folks we work with. We also might be using some complementary sales tools with that sales enablement piece. So that's, getting things in from Apollo and Zoom Info and things like that moved in. There might be some in terms of overall conversions and lead tracking. So we might be looking at with like CallRail or AirCall, adding different layers there for some outbound messaging, looking at different SMS partners and things like that. But for really the vast majority of what we do, kind of HubSpot is that centerpiece for the folks we work with.
Are most of your clients coming in from HubSpot, or are you outbounding? Like, I actually found this actually very indicative of the different kinds of agencies. Some
Mhm.
people, if you're an elite partner, I was talking to Six and Flow, a lot
Yeah.
of their clients just come from HubSpot because they build that relationship. Some people are like in the middle, and then some people
Mhm.
are building themselves out. Where are you on the journey of clients coming from HubSpot versus you acquiring them on your own?
It's a mix. So we get some folks that are coming from HubSpot, directly from referrals. That's actually a relatively small percentage. We're only a lowly gold partner, so we're not a big fish. But we get folks that, generally speaking, that are very well suited to what we do. So That's very helpful. Additionally, we get some folks that are coming from like the partner directory and some HubSpot associated things that we've done in the past, and some opportunities we've had with them. We also get a lot of referrals though, and people coming in from some other sources just based on where we've been out and about and expressing some HubSpot expertise. So that's also really pleasant. But pretty much everyone that is showing up on our door, they're all showing up because they need HubSpot help. They're in software, SaaS, or consultancy or another agency that are like, holy crap, y'all are the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You may or may not be at the point where, they're just dropping everything on you, but as a gold partner,
Mhm,
it's quite useful because now you've become clients. There's a huge number of clients in that ecosystem, and
mhm,
and that's the kind of interesting thing about tying your agency to a platform and ecosystem like HubSpot. They've done a really good job for agencies, right? Like on that note, I like to ask this question: is what's your best experience managing digital? I think you had actually even better story of the worst experience. You're talking about a client who had a chaotic install. I'm curious
mhm.
about first. It seems like a typical client for you. Like, tell me more about them, but like also what you would have done better. And like, how do you organize your agency to bring order to HubSpot installs? Because you must have SOPs by now.
So, I mean, generally speaking, when we go into like these engagements, we always start with an audit because we really want to make sure that we have a good idea of what's going on. Sometimes this is something, of course, that even has to happen in scoping for folks that have had a legacy portal and they've been in there for a while, and we know it's going to be the Wild West once we show up there. But generally speaking, it's all starting out with this audit to see if things are in line with what we suspect would should be going on, and also if the story that the data is telling and the story that the setup is telling shows that there is, any kind of order or set processes, or if it matches anything we would expect at all for that kind of business. So, as we go through this, it's starting out with these audits, but then learning about their actual processes and how they actually do things, what things are what are their priorities, what is the kind of information that they need, what would be valuable data points, where they're missing out, where we see opportunities as well, and then kind of building out and mapping all of these processes so that we're then able to set up their portal and the associated pieces appropriately for what the heck they need to have going on. So that's kind
So
of
how do you
this.
organize yourself as an agency to do that? Because these are like it's a lot of work. So do you have a standard process or you just have experts? Like what do you how do you manage this?
We have Yeah, so we have a standard process. So one of in our tech stack, we leverage Asana, and so we have kind of set up a standard template for all of the steps that we need to take, including points for feedbacks, check-ins, QA, etc., that we just kind of would roll out for these projects, depending on what we're going to be undertaking, or for example, what portals they're subscribed to, what we know we need to dig into versus for someone who's newer to the platform versus they've been on there for 8, 9, 10 years or something like that. So yeah, we have all of that kind of mapped out. And then, with this, we do have a few folks on our team who the only thing they do is leverage HubSpot subject matter expertise. So they're able to go in, it's kind of like the special forces, that they like get to hop in and then do those deep dive audits where they get to comb through all of the workflows and call out what's wrong. We have an admins team who's really used to going in and inventorying all of those assets so that we have, a nice standard process. So they get to go in nice, neat little sheets and things that are going to be really digestible to be able to talk through the things that then we get to turn around and, present in a way that hopefully isn't going to terrify the client, when we're recommending deleting half of their workflows or basically killing their babies to set up something that we think will be more functional for them. So
It's always a fun conversation with a client. So I reviewed your marketing. I think you should delete the business.
yeah,
Uh,
basically.
His clients are always freaking out, and really, I realize that no matter what kind of contractor you are, whether you're a digital marketing agency or a dev shop or a nail salon for a bride on her wedding day, it doesn't make a difference. All you're trying to do is calm them down and bring things back under control. That's all they care about. If you increase their anxiety one notch, it's like you're going to get fired for sure. The fact that you're going in and cleaning things up makes sense. You have a lot of products you mentioned. Like, who's been the best to work with to help you build a process, like a practice of bringing the systems under control? Like who's been a good partner as a software
And
vendor?
HubSpot hands down, and that's part of the reason we leaned in so heavily. We noticed that for a lot of platforms that are going to be kind of core, essential to a business, and kind of these other marketing automation and sales platforms, the Salesforces and the SharpSprings and the Marketos of the world. We started hearing a lot of, and this is something that, as we were leaning into and working with our own positioning, there are a lot of these agencies who'd say things like, oh, we're platform agnostic, which sounds very lovely, but the reality is you can't know every single one of them. You can't know and have any degree of expertise in all of these platforms and all of the software and be able to know if someone comes in, what they can or can't do based on their subscription type and what tier they have and what add-ons they like you can't and what features are available at all of these points. So a lot of it is learning on the client's dimes or doing kind of amateurish efforts while you're trying to scrap it together and figure out what the hell you're doing. So when we were kind of assessing, went really in with HubSpot because there was so much support, both in terms of as an agency and as a partner, what we needed to do to get our own marketing in line and to actually act as our own best client, but then also what the best practices are to best serve the clients. So really appreciated there that they're, especially as we were getting onboarded, we were very, had a very hands-on experience with a lot of folks kind of essentially telling us the shit we were doing wrong, and that how we would be able to better serve folks and kind of a better angle. Really appreciate that the resources that really readily available for partners in the HubSpot Academy to teach us to be able to better consult and maybe angles that we didn't previously think about before. That really allowed us to help our team kind of skill up in a lot of ways, and to be able to not have it where myself or someone else has to get tossed into every engagement to speak knowledgeably about these things, because of the resources were there for other folks to learn with greater ease. Also really appreciate, as we're going through the vast knowledge base, the fact that we're able to tap into actual humans to get stuff set up. So really the support there that we've been able to receive has been stupendous and help us not only to better serve our clients and give them a better experience using HubSpot, but just even in general as they're going through their marketing and their sales efforts, how we can best support them. So it also helps that the tech is pretty good. It integrates with tons of crap, and it actually works if it's used correctly. So that's a bonus.
You mentioned so many other partner companies. Obviously, some are
Yeah.
great, and you're using CallRail, et cetera.
Mhm.
But you must have then evaluated a ton of, or people reach out to you all the time, probably every day.
Yeah.
What has been a bad experience working with?
We had a couple of experiences where we've been really busy. Being really busy is great. I love that is the best problem to have, that we're a little bit too busy. There's this little pop ahead of the holidays where we were just kind of losing our damn minds. We're running renewals for a bunch of our annual clients. There's some people trying to push out some campaigns ahead of the holidays. Like it just was not the time. And there were a few, get some sales emails coming in that I was actually like, I would like to evaluate this platform. And so I was very, very upfront and said, you know what, we are going to be slammed. I know what's on the docket. We have absolutely no time to evaluate anything until late February. Please get on my calendar in late February or send an email. And we did have an incident where someone, I was very upfront with that. No, they just booked some time on my calendar, made it sound like they were, because we also serve SaaS companies, made it sound that as if they were actually the prospect, booked a sales call with me to sell them, and then just went into their pitch. And I was just absolutely livid because it was like 2 days before we were leaving for Christmas break. And it was so disrespectful. That was one of the things that sell, and just not being respectful of the agency owners or their contacts' time. So it's absolutely lovely. I have a bunch of appointments that I'm going to be very happy to take and very receptive to that lined up in mid and late February. However, this other, not going to name names, but I made it very clear that if the next time a client or a fellow agency owner is asking me for someone that offers that same solution, I'm going to tell them exactly who not to work with, because we know where their priorities lie. So I mean, that wasn't the most horribly egregious, but it was very rude, and it kind of made me really think about what that company's ethos must be in terms of the folks that they work with. That's probably the worst one. Second worst was a company we had some trouble getting started with. We're really excited to use, and their knowledge base is kind of buried. So we had to email. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, we don't have a link to that. Here's the link to those." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks. That's kind of odd that I have to ask for it." But despite being on recurring billing, we got an email every month that we were about to get turned off for non-payment the day before the recurring billing kicked in. Which every month, then I have to have a conversation with my bookkeeper, freaking out about how we're about to get turned off for something and they don't know how to pay it. Which is, again, a lovely way to spend my time.
I spent a good portion of last year talking to Zoom Info about explaining to them
Mhm.
that Stripe exists and they should use it. They
Yeah.
finally adopted it.
Yeah,
It's funny.
it's hard. Yeah, we'll see a lot of stuff where these platforms are supposed to make our lives easier, or automate processes and make things streamlined. That then they don't have something automated or streamlined themselves that actually ends up causing a whole bunch of manual time and minor freak out.
I feel it every day. I don't have a newsletter at AppBind, and I think every day I wake up, today's a day I create a newsletter. And I was like, who cares? No one wants a newsletter. Uh, so
Just don't
one of the
call it a
things that
newsletter.
no, I invite people
Yeah.
to drinks. That's you know me. That's how we met. I'm open bar as a service. That's my thing. So one thing you mentioned that obviously drives me bananas because of what I do. It is interesting to me. So your job is to bring chaos under control, but because of
Mhm,
the chaos of getting and buying these subscriptions, you're doing everything referral. But there's so many products that
mhm,
you mentioned in your stack. I'm just
mhm,
curious. And then these sales, as you know, these SaaS vendors can be very, very needy and
mhm.
desperate and create chaos with your clients. How do you manage those conversations so that the client is having a good experience, even though you need them to get something, which is effectively a pipe or a valve from your point of view?
Yeah, that's something that we've kind of wrestled with over the years. One of the things that for us, we want our clients to own their subscriptions for
Right.
multiple reasons. Of course, one, we don't want to be the one signing a 2-year contract for a client that doesn't have a 2-year contract with us. And of course, at any point, who knows, especially with startups, what may happen. And on the other side of the coin, of course, we don't want to be owning it in case something happens to us as an agency. I think the example that I've given a few times is I'm on vacation, my wallet gets stolen, my credit card gets turned off. Who is going to set this back up if we're the ones who had put this on? Or we fold. We don't want to put our clients in that position. So we always encourage them to own it. Additionally, of course, for some of these, again, using HubSpot as an example, someone signs up for HubSpot marketing, they're signing a 1 or a 2-year contract. That is a contract between them and HubSpot. I don't want to wedge myself in too much as a third party or to try to overly manage that because I am not a party to that contract. I have some skin in the game, but not as much as they do. So really want to stay out of that. So I generally try to one for some of these like HubSpot or a Sprout Social or something that is going to be a larger commitment and something that may or may not be a little spendy. I try to make proper intros, stay involved with the conversations as is appropriate, and kind of try to toe the line to make sure that I'm not leaving anyone kind of hanging out to dry or get the hard sell. I try to be really transparent with everyone on both sides about what timelines actually are looking like, what budgets actually are, what's going to happen and when, to make sure to kind of guide those conversations. But otherwise, when it comes to actually, contracting what's going to end up being billing terms or discounts negotiated or whatever else, I'm like, this is between y'all. I want to stay the heck out of it. For things that are going to be a little bit easier, you sign up, you set stuff up, don't need to go through a prolonged sales process. It's often just sending over, like, here's the link, sign up for this, add me as a user. Here's the 2-second tutorial on how to do that, and then we can take it from there. So that's really, it's not an elegant process by any means. It's a little bit of a dance where we're trying not to step in it and get
It
ourselves in the middle of something we shouldn't be in the middle of.
part of me is dying inside because I've solved all those problems, but it's okay. I understand. I
Yeah.
did the same thing. To me, like the hardest thing about that relationship is when because I know the kind of contracts you're doing are large, and I used to be analytics consultant, and amplitude sales would
Mhm.
always drive me absolutely bananas, right? Because it was a great product, but the salespeople would never listen to me. They didn't understand implementation partners at all. They didn't understand these people existed. You don't exist. I'm like,
Uh,
I'm pretty sure I exist. Anyway, so they always end run me with the client, right? And create chaos. HubSpot's much better at that. But you must have had to deal with vendors who you'd have to like rein them in. I'm curious, do you have a way of bringing those things under those conversations under control? And I mean, I ask this in a meaningful way because so many software vendors need to hear, your point of view on the sale because they don't know
uh,
what they're doing.
We don't have a process for that. We've had circumstances though where, I've had to send a nasty email. We had one where someone was being very overly aggressive and was not listening to the client. And to be very frank, like some of the language they were using as a woman in business, I got an email forwarded to me like, what would you say to this? And I was like, that is some very misogynistic, condescending language. And it was very much, kind of to summarize the tone and the language being used. Well, it didn't say it directly. It was kind of like, well, listen, little lady, like maybe your boss might have a different opinion about what you should do. Like I think, like we kind of know better. And I was like, hell no. It was a situation where, I basically coached the client. I was like, this is what I would respond and say. At the same time, I get to send my nasty email and kind of had to essentially figure out who their supervisor was and copy them and say, it was like, this isn't appropriate. We can't have relationships like this. You're jeopardizing both of our both of our deals now. Get your act together and get someone else on this account pronto. Otherwise, we're not going to deal with you all over again. And it did resolve itself, but it was kind of gross and it was kind of rough. But we want to be an advocate for our clients, and so it's really going in and trying to coach them and advocate for them. And if it turns out that we're like, we can't do this anymore, then we can't do this anymore, and we need to find a different solution.
Well, there's a little bit in there you threw out that I don't think people get it. It's obvious to you, but they jeopardize both of your deals when they behave that way, because clients will like you brought this drama into the client's life, and your job is to remove drama from the client's life, right? And then
Yeah.
it's like it's super high risk, when that happens. Just to round off then, so if a software company wanted to reach out to you and say, sell my stuff, which is a terrible way to approach you, what's a nice way to approach you, a good way, someone who you think has done a good job of adding themselves into your life as a software partner?
I mean, for me, the best way to approach is to not call. That's number one. I love I usually have back to back to back calls booked all day. And so when someone just suddenly starts ringing in the middle of the day, it's a little like, ugh, not answering. But I think the one thing is really, especially since we do so much work around sales enablement and building sales processes, I like to see folks who know how to sell and who understand the folks they're trying to sell to. So I like seeing folks that have reached out with customized messages that are doing their due diligence before they reach out. They don't need crazy due diligence, but if someone's trying to sell me software to help me build software, when we don't build software, that isn't going to go well. Or for software for us to add for our clients' e-commerce stacks. We don't deal with e-commerce. Like that's like one of our number one things. We're like, we don't do e-commerce. So it's a little making sure that something is an actually targeted, appropriate pitch, being respectful of timing, and not reusing the same kind of those cheesy sales sequence breakup emails that everyone does. I had one today where I don't know where this person got me from, but they're talking, it's like, oh, maybe you're not the right person, or maybe you're just busy climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, ha ha ha. And it's like, I appreciate they tried to put a fresh spin on that one, but it's like, no, like I didn't see any of your other 17 emails before this, or however many you sent. The breakup email doesn't really have the same resonance. So make it a little fresh.
I mean, when you're marketing agencies, you got to be a little bit more entertaining. I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the things too, is if I get a really bad pitch or something that isn't appropriate, or someone messed up their sequencing, like I'll get all 3 sales emails I'm supposed to get across a month, like on the same day, like back to back to back. I'll email back and tell them what to do better, and copy their boss and their boss's boss, anyone who I can find on LinkedIn, and try to sell them and explain to them that they need to revamp their sales processes and offer them sales training. So the worst ones I'm kind of mean about.
It's just a matter of respect versus desperation. I feel that is the fundamental, I guess that's the story of what this thing's all about. What I'm trying to talk
Yeah.
about is like agencies, you're dealing with fear and risk with your clients, your own lives. Vendors need to respect you, but then that the opportunity for an agency to bring it under control is actually quite interesting as well. And that's really what I'm trying to achieve over this next decade. I mean, it has to be the way it used to be. It used to be like this. It should be again. Thank you so much, Julie. I really appreciate you being upfront. I don't know if you have any Milwaukee versus Vegas takes. I would love to hear the Milwaukee take on digital today versus the Vegas take on digital, because you span both cities.
It's weird. We don't have any clients well, I shouldn't say we don't have. We have very few, both in Milwaukee or Las Vegas, historically. Most of our clients are in neither cities. Nothing good from Milwaukee. Las Vegas, though, has a very good scene when it comes to digital marketing. There's also Levima here, which I was active in the board for many years, which is a really great organization, doing a lot to really forward digital marketing and work with agencies and people who are in-house marketers to really do cool stuff and learn about new technology and advance what they're doing for themselves or their clients. So great scene in Vegas. Unfortunately, Milwaukee, since I've been there, been a little bit too busy. No idea what's going on there.
It's
But
too bad.
nothing.
It's such an
Nothing.
interesting, different market. That's why I ask.
Yeah.
Vegas and
Yeah. No. Yeah.
it's a really
Nothing.
good
Yeah.
perspective. Anyway, those businesses up there, they're totally different. Anyway, that's besides the point. Thank you so much for making the time. I appreciate it. How do people reach out to you? LinkedIn, email? How should they reach out to you?
LinkedIn is awesome. Just I'm Julie Ewald. There's not many of us. I'm the one who's a digital marketer, not the yoga instructor. We also, if you want to email me, it's Julie at Impressa, Impressa Solutions.com, or on Twitter at Julie Ewald.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.